me, so
Nope, there we go.
there we go. I'm finally in. We have our first ban. It is going to be Kassadin.
I mean, that's sort of suspected in the current meta. Kassadin still seen it as exceedingly strong champion. And then the North team has decided to ban out Jarvan. We don't see too many Jarvans as we used to a couple months ago, but he's still an exceedingly strong and capable jungler who fits into many different team compositions.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, Jarvan, such a strong early jungler as well. I mean, with the EQ combo at level 2 having a knock up and a gap closer, it's just such a potent gank combo. And like, especially if your mid laner has some kind of solid CC, like for example Arise's Rune Prison, it's so easy to get those early ganks off, which is why it's such a good ban.
Agreed. The South team there, South are playing on blue side by the way, and North are on red side or purple side, however you want to phrase it. They've banned out Singed against the North team, and that is a targeted ban against Senpai Nihan on top lane, who does play a lot of Singed, so that's definitely been targeted at him. And South team have also banned out Orianna, with the North team having their second and third bans being Annie and Jax. And both those, well, kind of all three of those champions are quite strong in the meta. Orianna has been strong ever since she was released. So we see the first pick coming out for the South team, which looks like it could be a Mundo. Mundo's certainly picked up been a bit of a flavour of the month recently. A lot of professional teams have started using him both in top lane and in jungle, and he's been proving kind of particularly potent. In the defensive masteries tree, there's just one particular mastery there that increases his viability so much, which is why we've seen him been locked in.
Yeah, and Mundo just means such a difficult champion to lane against. I mean, it's so hard to deal with. The amount of sustain he has, just naturally has so much health, so much lifesteal. Once he's got a couple of items, if he gets a Spirit Visage, or in fact Spirit Visage and Warmogs on that character, is just so deadly. And you can have almost 5,000 HP with only 4 items on him, so it is just so terrifying to deal with if he does start to snowball.
Yeah, and it's we see kind of Thresh being locked in, which is going to be the support for the North team. Both supports on South and North teams have Thresh as one of their most played champions. So Joffras playing for Staffordshires VGS team, he's obviously going to be exceedingly happy that he's got one of his main champions. And the North team's second champion that they've decided to lock in is Shyvana, who again is exceedingly strong in the current meta and is usually picked in pretty much every single game that I've seen professionally over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Both Shyvana and Thresh being such strong champions. I mean, Thresh alone, if he can land those perfect hooks and get those flays, and there's just so much you can do with Thresh. He's got so much engage, he's got so much disengage, and also he's so naturally tanky, but as well, because of the amount of gold supports are now getting in the current meta, he just becomes that much tanky and that much harder to deal with in the mid game.
Yeah, and we see South team hovering over Elise and Jinx, and as I was just saying before, Jinx is a highly contested AD champion between these two teams. It's a QQ Blame jungler, kind of favouring that a lot recently. He's been playing that a lot, both in normal and ranked games, and I imagine that he probably has been screwing with that as well when these teams have been practicing. So we see that being locked in, and he's chosen to go for Barrier at the moment alongside his Flash.
Yeah, and just talking about Jinx, recently, I believe it was Doublelift said in his Grilled interview that, I mean, this was a little while ago, but it was just after Worlds. He said that literally there wasn't really much point in playing anyone but Jinx because she is so strong. And while I don't think that's 100% accurate, I definitely agree that she is a super strong character, and a lot down to the fact that she has so much passive attack speed. If you choose to, you can go for that Legolas build that we've seen so much on Varys, where you get the Last Whisper and the Bloodthirster. And because you have that natural attack speed anyway, it doesn't matter that you're not building an attack speed item for the second item.
Yeah, that's true. You certainly don't need to focus on attack speed like you have to do as kind of Lucian or maybe Caitlyn. The North team have locked in Nasus. I'm surprised that Nasus wasn't actually banned out. Recently, in pretty much every single game I've seen, Nasus has been banned out of pits because he's so strong on top lane. He can just keep on building up that queue, and you know that if your game goes into the late game phase where it gets kind of 40-50 minutes and he's got his queue up to 600-700, that's going to be doing so much damage that it's nigh on impossible to stop.
Yeah, and
nigh on, of course, choosing Vayne there as well.
Yeah, and having a look at the South team, they did hover over Teemo for a second there. So anyone that has joined from the Reddit thread, you'll know about our possible drinking game if you're into that kind of thing. If the Teemo is locked in, I believe it was you have to finish your drink maybe. So fingers crossed for you that he isn't locked in. But it looks like we may have an Ahri and a Lulu pick. Lulu being a really, really strong support, one of my personal favourite supports. Obviously,
Lulu, I mean, because Thresh has been taken away from Welsh Brands, who's a South team support, Lulu is his second most played support, so he should be feeling rather comfortable on that as well. And Ahri as well, she received a small buff in the 3.15 patch. She's got a little bit more mana regen early on, so she hasn't been hit too hard. And if a Fizz is pretty much instantly locked in for the North team there. For their mid lane, and again he's usually been banned out in many games, so it would be an interesting matchup on mid lane to see who will fare best. Because Fizz, I mean, in your opinion, do you think Fizz is quite a strong counter towards Ahri, or do you think he only has a slight advantage?
See, this is something that was brought up. I believe this was in Worlds actually, or maybe it wasn't. It might have been before Worlds, but Reginald picked a Fizz into an Ahri. Now I can't remember who they were up against, but they discussed this on the analyst desk, and Fizz is a sort of controversial counter to Ahri. It's really good if you can get the playful tricksters on the right spells. If you can dodge the charms, if you can dodge those orb of deceptions, then you can avoid enough damage to survive Ahri's burst and be able to just win the fight. However, if you miss the Chum the Waters, if you don't use the playful trickster correctly, then you can pretty much get stomped in lane. So it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup to watch.
Certainly, I think also interesting that Senpai Nyan on top lane with the Nasus has taken Teleport and Ghost. So they're obviously going to be looking to kind of TP and look for ganks early on. I mean, I think one of the things that you do find is a number of teams at their top laner or potentially their mid laner will take Teleport as their spell, and you wait for it, and they use it kind of maybe once within the first 10 minutes of the game, when really you want to try and use it as early as you can to get that advantage going. And sometimes the top laner just forgets to use it and doesn't have that map awareness to know when to use it. And so that will, of course, come down to the communication of the team. It will be interesting to note most of the New World teams, they have an assigned captain who's usually the shot caller of the team, whereas these teams, because they've only been thrown together in the last week, they've just been finding each other's strengths and weaknesses. It'll be interesting to find out afterwards. Hopefully, if we get a post-match interview with one or two of the players to see who was the shot caller, and who was the one who's making either what could be the game-winning calls or the absolutely awful ones that throw the game. Yeah,
definitely. I'll be interested to see what happens. Just like diverting slightly from the game, what do you think of the new summoner spell icons? I've got to be honest, I'm not a fan of many of them. I mean, the teleport icon, it looks more like Yamaru's Ghostblade, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only one I'm not too happy with is Flash, because it looks a bit too much like Smite to me. That's the only thing that I'm not too happy with. The others I can tolerate. But as with everything, when they change kind of the champion icons and stuff, you think, oh no, they've ruined it, and then you get used to it by the end of the day. I'm sure there will be some diehard fans who will complain, but you'll always get those.
Yeah, definitely. So, taking a look at this bot lane matchup, we're going to have a Thresh Vayne versus Jinx Lulu. How do you reckon this lane will sort of pan out?
Well, I mean, commonly you do see kind of a Thresh Vayne bot lane exceedingly strong. As soon as Thresh gets that hook in, and that kind of death sentences you, he'll pull in, then he'll flay you back. Vayne can pin you against the wall. So much damage can be pumped out when those champions hit level 3. Whereas on the other hand, with Lulu and Jinx, that bot lane has got much better wave clear, and so I'd imagine that the South team is going to be looking to push down the tower much faster, and then try and lane swap and go against and kind of flip up towards a Nasus. At the moment with these team compositions, I am assuming that it will be a relatively standard 1-1-2 in each of the lanes. But I mean, these aren't necessarily the kind of. I think the southern team, their composition is a bit more unorthodox. You don't necessarily see those champions together. Whereas the north team, I think it looks a bit more safe and a bit more boring, in my opinion. Their overall team composition.
Yeah, I feel like sorry, I can't talk here. I feel like if there is a lane swap and we do get the sort of 1v2 lanes in the top and the bottom, it will probably be more in favour of the south team. Mundo versus Thresh Vayne. I mean, Mundo's so naturally tanky anyway. It's going to be difficult for them to kill him. But also, because Thresh and Vayne are both quite short-ranged in terms of poke, Mundo's going to be quite happy just sort of farming under his tower. And obviously can farm with those cleavers. And it is such a good tool to farm with. And like I said earlier, because of his innate sustain, he can just sort of sit under tower and farm all day. Whereas in the other lane, Jinx and Lulu have a significant amount of long-range poke, so they can possibly make it quite difficult for Nasus to be able to farm under lane. And obviously everybody knows if you can stop Nasus from farming, then in the mid and late game he's going to be near useless unless he can get those Q stacks. So we'll possibly be seeing a lane switch.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, in that if they were to kind of lane swap, Nasus will come out worse compared to Mundo. And I would imagine if I was on the south team, I would try and limit Nasus's damage. I mean, because when you look at kind of where the damage is going to be coming out from the team, in the northern team, you've got Vayne is going to pump out a lot of damage. You've got Fizz, if he just gets a small amount of lead, or at least manages to keep up with Ahri, he can kind of burst out Jinx instantly. He'll be able to burst out Lulu instantly. He could burst out Ahri if he dodges the spell shots that we talked about before. And then Nasus, if he finds his Q, he's going to be pumping out a whole ton of damage. When you look at the south team, you've got Jinx, who really is their main source of damage there. Ahri, if she builds up kind of enough kind of magic penetration, builds up enough AP, she'll be also kind of a main source of damage. But then with Lulu, Elise, I suppose with the southern team having a Mundo on top lane, Elise doesn't necessarily have to build as tanky as she possibly would normally. But we are now in the game, and it'll be interesting to see what items are picked up by either team and which trinkets they will go for.
Yeah, so currently looking like the North team going to be going majoritively for warding trinkets, but Vayne actually forgetting to buy a trinket there. Bit unfortunate. On the South side, quite slow to leave the base, but they are now all on the way. Looks like North team may be communicating quite a lot. They're definitely staying very close as a 5, so possibly plan something out in some scrims prior to this. So we'll have to see what they do have planned.
Yeah, they've certainly had a plan for one, but they've been spotted by the Elise, and the hook just misses. The Ghostly just managed to escape that. If she was caught by that death sentence, it might have spelled doom right from the very start, not even a minute in. But looks like the North has now decided to back out. They're hoping that maybe if they weren't discovered, they could have gone for the red, but they've now scattered throughout the rest of their side of the map.
Yeah, possibly trying to get that early advantage. Obviously, having a Thresh on your team in the early game is just... If you can get that invade, then it's probably worth going for, because of just the CC that Thresh can throw down with just one of his abilities. I mean, Death Sentence, it lasts an entire second at level 1, and it pulls you slightly towards the enemy team. So really, really sort of... If you do get caught by that, and the rest of Thresh's team is available to follow up, then you're pretty much going to die.
Yeah, I mean, if there, it doesn't look like there is going to be a 5v5 level 1 fight, but I think that if there was one, and if South managed to get kind of Lulu Glitter Lance, and then you have an Ahri or Perception get across all 5 members of North, then the South would have an advantage in the Team 1 fight, but I think that Thresh is so lethal that they did have the advantage, and that's why they were actively looking for that first engagement. Yeah,
so interestingly, Shyvana... Oh no, sorry, I thought she wasn't using a smite to start there, but she did just use it right at the very beginning. And everyone going to be going to lanes. We are just going to have the 2-1-1 lane set up rather than anyone going for that lane switch. So interesting choice there. They are going to be going for that sort of 2v2 bot lane. So I'll be very interested to see how that does pan out. It's all going to be down to how aggressive Thresh and Vayne are, how many grabs they can get in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, we can already see QQ Blame Jungle and Welsh Brands. They seem to be looking a bit more aggressive. They've already put out a fair amount of damage onto Jorfass's Thresh. There's a tongue twister for you.
Yeah, Jorfass. And just so far, nothing really going on in any of the lanes. Kind of everyone just setting off, just starting to farm. Both junglers just making their way through the jungle. Obviously, Shyvana is going to have significantly faster wave clear already on her red buff, whereas Elise just slowly making her way through wraiths. But Shyvana going to be making her way up to the top lane, so we'll have to see if we do have an engagement going up there any second.
True, I think it looks like Shyvana could be going in, but Mundo is backing off, and as we said, Mundo is so tanky, even at the very start, it takes a lot to get him down, and then we have Thresh only managing to hook a minion there.
Yeah, and Shyvana obviously did try and go for that top gank, but Mundo did have a ward available. It did just vanish as Shyvana was arriving in lane, so I think he did see her in advance and was able to back away from that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this top lane, it is just going to be a real kind of like farm fest up there. It will be Nasus trying to build up his queue as much as he can, and Mundo just trying to get as many creeps as he can to get those first few key items, the Spirit Visage, kind of his first Warmog, and from then he'll be able to maybe start roaming a bit.
Well, we do have a bit of a trade going on in the bot lane, but really not too much damage going out. I think both teams being really, really passive so far. Neither team wants to throw away that early lead that could, like, I mean, both mid laners very snowbally, both AD carries very snowbally, both top laners incredibly snowbally. So both teams wanting to be really careful here. Fizz does get charmed here though. The ignite does go down. Ahri doing absolutely loads of damage. In the bot lane though, there's another fight going down. QQ Blame Jungler does go down to Vayne. Vayne picking up that first blood, and Ahri going to be picking up the kill in the mid lane on Fizz as well.
Now, overall, you'd have to say that the North came out on top there. If only they've only got a 300 gold advantage, but the fact there was 2 assists for 2 players of their team there and the kill, I think that was slightly better. But I don't think that's a huge trade-off because, as we said, kind of the ADs are very snowbally, but the mid lane is also very snowballing. It was a kill on the right people. Vayne got the kill, and Ahri got the kill. So again, I still think it's fairly even at the moment, despite the first blood going in the North team's favour. Yeah,
I think obviously North did get first blood. They also got those 2 assists, so it was a slightly better trade for the North. But obviously this early in the game, 1 kill each. It's really not too massive. But taking a look at the farm, the North is doing pretty well in the top lane. 34 CS for that Nasus compared to Mundo's only 26, so almost 10 farm ahead already. So Nasus really doing well to take that lead, and also in the bot lane, Vayne on 36 farm to Jinx's 28. However, that is because
he's gone in and he's been caught on mid lane.
Yeah, the cocoon does go down onto Fizz though. He's getting really low. The red buff's ticking, and Elise going to be able to pick up that kill.
Yeah, that certainly is going to help the South team there. And we just see Mundo and Nasus are just going to wail on each other. You know, I can imagine for at least until the laning phase is over in this game.
Yeah, I think Nasus and Mundo are just going to be able to trade blows all day long, and really not much of anything going to happen. I'm very sorry, my game client does keep on briefly freezing. I may have to turn down the graphics if it does keep up. If not, I'll try and leave it as it is and see if it is okay. But if it does keep happening, I will have to turn the game graphics down. So Mundo going to be taking his first recall. If he does go back, however, or not, yeah. If he does go back, Nasus will start to get a bit of a farm lead, and it's possibly not a good idea for Mundo. Obviously, he is already a little bit behind in farm. He doesn't want to be the first one to go back. Obviously, the first one to go back does put themselves slightly behind in farm, unless obviously they go back because they've got a kill or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, just to give the viewers an update, Nasus is just over 90 on his queue now, which is not bad going. 7 minutes in, that's what you'd expect with this sort of level of player.
We do have an engage going down in the bot lane. Thresh unfortunately missing his grab. Vayne getting caught in the flame chompers, does get polymorphed into a rabbit, but I think Elise is now here. I don't know if she's got a cocoon available. Thresh getting an excellent flame, knocking 2 people, but he is getting very low now. Thresh possibly going to go down. He does flash. The zap coming out from Jinx, doing a lot of damage. Elise getting so low. everyone on both teams getting so low here. The excellent shield there by the Lulu, protecting Elise from that damage.
Fizz was roaming bottom,
and
he's now decided to go back.
After all of that action, I think everyone's going to get away.
Yeah, I don't think Shyvana's not strong enough yet to look for a dive. An interesting note there, Fizz was starting to roam bottom and Ari stayed in lane for a bit. And when Fizz was returning, Ari, you could see, was thinking, oh, Fizz has roamed bot lane, I better go follow. But Fizz had already turned back to mid lane, so they weren't quite sure where each other was going at that time. But now they've both returned to mid lane.
Definitely. And Elise is coming back round bot for a gank. Does manage to repel the death sentence. Really well played. The Flay and the Condemn come down, but Vayne is getting really low now. The Zap did hit. Both of Purple Team's bot lane are getting really low, but Shyvana does use the ult to get in. Absolutely loads of damage going down on Elise. Vayne able to pick up that kill, does now use her ultimate, and it looks like Lulu may go down as well. That's a double kill for Vayne. The exhaust did go down for that kill, and it looks like they're going to go for the dive. Vayne tanking a couple of tower shots there. Don't think that was intentional. And in the meantime, oh my goodness, and now Ari's here, gets the charm down on Shyvana, but not going to have enough damage to do too much. And QQ blame jungle again, so low. Vayne able to pick up that kill, but he's tanking tower shots. He's going to go... Oh, he survives it on 10 HP. And that is another kill for the Vayne.
Oh wow, that is exactly what the North team wanted and what the South team didn't want. You've now got a Vayne on 4-0 and 0. She's going to be exceedingly hard to deal with now. Nyon
completely doing the North proud here on 4-0-0, diving the tower, knowing exactly how much damage he can take. Did escape on about 10 HP there, using that barrier to protect him from those hits. And I think, he can now afford his Blade of the Rune King, so that is going to be absolutely terrifying for the South team to deal with.
Yeah, QQ Blame Jungler is now going to have a hard time. He's really going to have to rely on a number of ganks coming in from Elise. Mira on top lane, still just wailing away on each other. And we have kind of Mundo is about 10 CS behind, but Nasus has now got a huge wave under his tower which he can farm with. Yeah,
and Mundo did just use his ultimate, so if he doesn't go back, Nasus might sort of go aggressive and possibly be able to get a kill with his own ultimate. We'll have to see what does happen there. I'll be interested to see if he does go for it. Not many Nasus players like to go aggressive. Even if they do see an opportunity, they'd rather just go for that farm, so we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, Nasus is now up to 150 on his queue, so he's certainly keeping pace with what you'd expect, but you have Fizz is now just looking to take
Yeah. And taking a look at the CS difference in this game, Nasus now 20 CS ahead in the bot lane as well. Vayne is 10 CS ahead plus those 4 kills, so obviously Vayne miles and miles ahead. Looking at the mid lane though, Fizz has died twice, but he's somehow managing to keep up with Ari on the farm, so doing a really good job to sort of stay even there, just narrowly avoiding that charm, but using the playful trickster to farm, really not the best sort of course of action. He is going to be able to take a lot of damage because of that.
Yeah, there was a fail cocoon there from Elise, but I don't think that gank could have amounted to much anyway.
Oh, Thresh manages to get the death sentence. The box goes down. QQ blame jungler getting so low. The exhaust goes down on Vayne though. The condemn knocking him away, unfortunately. But in the meantime, we have a battle in the mid lane. Ari managing to pick up the kill onto Fizz. But Jinx getting an excellent super death rocket, I believe it's called, picking up the kill on Vayne, who did try to dive them. And that's going to be 2 kills for the Southern team.
Yeah, I think Vayne got a little bit kind of kill hungry there, a little bit greedy, and completely forgot about the super mega death rocket, and that just completely polished her off. But you could see the huge advantage that Vayne has on that lane now, despite having, Vayne and Thresh having lower attack ranges and usually shouldn't have a higher CS. But as you said, they're about 15. Vayne is 15 CS above Jinx and has now a 3 kill advantage.
Yeah, so really scary. But obviously Jinx did just pick up that kill on Vayne, did get that sort of shutdown, well, not quite shutdown gold, but did get a lot of gold from that, so it will close up that gold gap. Currently Vayne is just over 1,000 gold ahead of Jinx, so Jinx is really going to have to try very hard to get that closer. We may see a bit of a fight going on in the top lane. Nasus very he doesn't seem to want to use his ultimate. He wants to try and save it, but Mundo just sort of using his ultimate whenever it's up, and obviously Mundo's ultimate not a very long cooldown, so you can sort of just use it as much as you want. But currently, Nasus, like I said earlier, doesn't want to go for those fights. He does just want to try and farm up his Q as much as he can.
Yeah, I think that both teams are looking to try and have a gank on bottom lane so that they can make a move on Dragon. I can imagine that as soon as kind of the AD or support is killed on bot lane, no matter for which team, whoever loses the next small team skirmish down there. Oh, we see Fizz going up on the Stormcrow.
Yeah, Fizz is up in that top lane. I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything though. Nasus really not sort of reacting fast enough, and Mundo just sort of walking away from that. In the meantime, Ahri getting a bit of damage down on that tower. Just throw a bit of damage at Shyvana. Shyvana not really going too aggressive. He knows that Ahri has that charm. He won't be able to 1v1 her. So he's just going to try and defend that turret and get that free CS. Elise, though, now heading down towards the Dragon. In the meantime, this top tower is just getting bullied by the Nasus and the Fizz. Looks like Nasus possibly going to be heading down soon. Going to be going back and then joining the team fights. And in the meantime, though, the blue team going to be pushing the mid tower, so I don't know if that was worth the trade. Shyvana getting absolutely dropped by Ahri. Does manage to get the job. The Ignite goes down, but the Exhaust goes down from Shyvana. Really well played by Shyvana, but at least managing to pick up that kill. And I'd say that advantage goes to the south, unfortunately. For
mid tower over a top lane tower any day. That was really well read there. They saw that Fizz had wandered up to top lane to try and take that top tower away. So they thought, you go up top lane, we'll go mid lane and push straight down the middle. Route 1. Yeah,
I'm a little bit disappointed in the North team's decision making there. I mean, they went for that top lane tower, but the thing is, you don't really want to take the top lane tower when you've got a Nasus anyway. He wants to be in lane as long as possible, just farming. I mean, Nasus scales with farm so much better than Mundo does. So why take that tower? Why force yourself to go into that mid game when you can just extend the lane phase and get even more farmed?
True. I mean, you look at the gold difference. There's only 300 between them at the moment, and that 300 is essentially the 1 kill advantage they have, or that the South has. We're at 15 minutes, and it looks like they're all starting to gather around Dragon. So, I can imagine our next fight will be on Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon currently is half health. Everyone's going now. Dowsy is currently half health. Ahri getting really low. The Lulu ultimate does go down though. Dowsy getting so low. Don't know if he's going to go down yet. Ahri going to be picking up that kill, but so low. The Ignite goes down on Ahri, picking up a kill for Vayne. Vayne now picking up the double kill. Really bad situation for the South. Vayne getting so scary. Is 6-1-1 now, and that's going to be a free Dragon for the North team.
Yeah, the South team are going to have to find a way at Vayne.
Yeah, and the Northern team picking up that tower, and now it looks like Vayne possibly going to be trying to push that bot tower as well. And in the meantime, Mundo is staying in this top lane, and I feel like he needs to try and come down and join these team fights, because he's slowly but surely falling behind Nasus in this top lane. He's not going to scale as well as Nasus. He needs to make an impact on this game in a different lane, because slowly but surely Nasus is just going to start to bully Mundo out of lane now. And Nasus has already taken his tower. So Mundo really needs to either apply pressure somewhere else on the map, or somehow maybe get help in that top tower and force that tower down.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think if I was on the South team, I'd swap. Oh, we see. Oh, they are going in on Storm.
And I don't know if Mundo's going to be able to get away from this. The red buff is ticking. Shyvana just used the ultimate. I don't know if Wither's going to be available soon. He does Wither now, but the regen from the Mundo ultimate is just so strong. They can't out-damage it currently. Nasus not being able to get close enough to get the Q. He does finally get a Q, but Elise is here to save the day. Manages to get the cocoon. I don't know if Mundo's going to be able to get away. The red buff is ticking. Nasus is going to go for the tower dive. Dowsy getting really low though. The charm coming down from Ahri is going to use the ultimate now. And the DFG goes down. I don't know if Nasus is going to be able to get away from this one. The charm is currently down, but the Foxfire is going to be enough to pick up that kill, and Ahri picking up a double kill.
I'm not sure whether that was really lucky by the South team, or that was a perfect bait for Stormcrow there.
I think it was a mix of both. I think Mundo possibly got a little bit out of position, used his ultimate, was able to just sponge so much damage, and Stormcrow, I think Carnifexism is Stormcrow. Stormcrow no. Oh, what am I talking about? Carnifexism saw that this was all going down in the top lane and headed over. He saw that he saw the opportunity that he had in his hands and just took it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, at the moment, I think maybe a case with kind of both the top lane and bot lane tower being down to the south is to let Mundo farm relatively safe on his side and let those sort of ganks happen. Don't necessarily push those lanes. Try and get the other lanes to, have a bit more impact. But yeah, I'm really worried about this Vayne though, because that Vayne is just going to keep on farming and farming. Only has a 10 CS lead, but when you got those 5 extra kills, that's such a large amount of gold difference.
Yeah, I really feel like the story of this game is going to be who can carry harder, the Ahri or the Vayne. Currently, gold... Oh, we do have a disconnect. I don't know if we're going to see a pause yet. The pause is going to come in. But as I was saying, the gold currently between Vayne and Ahri, Vayne is about 600 gold ahead of the Ahri. However, Ahri can absolutely one-shot someone if she can land the charm, as well as that DFG does so much damage. So if the Ahri can sort of make some catches, get some picks off before the team fights, then the game is possibly still available for the South. But if the Vayne plays well, and if the Northern team is able to protect that Vayne, then the game's pretty... if the Vayne can just sit back in those team fights and deal the damage that is so easy to deal when you are that far ahead on Vayne, then the team fights are just going to be pretty much for free for the Northern team.
Yeah, I think it will be a case of when we start getting to stage the 5v5 team fights, that as long as Ahri can dive in with her ultimate, charm up Vayne, pop her out kind of existence within 2 or 3 seconds, then the South team will have a huge advantage. But if Vayne manages to stay alive or tumble, use her ultimate, get away from the fight and then re-engage, then the South is going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I mean, look at the gold difference between Vayne and Jinx. Vayne is currently on 7,500 gold. Jinx is only just on 5.2 thousand gold. So there's a huge discrepancies there, and you can see that in the items as well. Is that Vayne is just going to be pumping out so much damage. Got that Blade of the Rune King. This is kind of the first 10-12 minutes. Already has a static Shiv. Has already finished her boots. And you look at Jinx. I mean, all she has. Okay, she's got the Berserker's Greaves, Vampiric Scepter, 2 Doran's Blades. And that's it, and that's not a huge amount of AD that she's going to be pumping out at the moment.
Currently have 2.4 thousand gold on her person though, so when she does go back, she'll be able to afford that. I assume she's going Bloodthirster, but she could just be going for the Vamp Scepter for the sustain, and then going for a different item. So we'll see what she does pick up first, but obviously with that gold in her pocket, she's going to be able to pick up at least one big item. However, even with that much gold on her, she's going to go back and get her first big item. Vayne already has 2 big items plus boots. I mean, Vayne is so far ahead. And it's so scary to be against a Vayne that's far ahead. I mean, me personally, I'd rather be against an Ahri that's fed than a Vayne that's fed, because Ahri can kill like one person. Vayne, when she uses her ultimate, can melt through an entire team so long as you can't kill her first. I mean, the true damage is just insane. Even Mundo's sustain won't be able to deal with this Vayne currently.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think an interesting thing to note as well is that when you look at the trinket that the team's got, Vayne eventually did go and buy a trinket for herself, but the North team, kind of 4 of their players decided to go for the warding trinket, and it is their support on Thresh that they've now got the sweeper trinket to clear out any of the other team's wards. Whereas on the south side, they've given that role to the jungler, who's taking the sweeper lens. So obviously you can see that has played some effect in the game, that kind of Thresh would go and clear out wards, and then he'd make the call to Shyvana saying, okay, I've cleared out a ward at least, it's safe for you to come and jungle. Whereas for Elise, when she wanted to gank down bottom, she'd have to go and clear out the ward herself. She'd be seen, they would have to return back to the lane in a minute's time, sort of thing, to be able to gank. So I think that possibly could have been one of the factors that managed to give Vayne kind of this dominating lead that she has at the moment. Yeah,
quite possibly. But it's interesting, the difference between the 2 junglers, one of them having a ward, one of them having that sweeping lens, and it kind of shows the different sort of levels of aggression that the junglers have shown. Elise has been very gank orientated, doing ganks all the time, whereas Shyvana has been ganking a lot, but not. She's not been quite as aggressive as the Elise, and it shows in the trinket as well. Shyvana getting that warding trinket to defend her camps, so she knows when she's going to get counter jungled. Whereas Elise going for the sweeping lens, going to be able to have more of that sort of map presence, be able to get rid of wards and sort of go wherever she wants.
True. I mean, what I have noticed, kind of in the many games that I've played, is that many supports these days they tend to start off with the warding lens, with a greater totem, and then once they've built into the ruby sightstone, they'll then kind of sell off the greater totem and replace that with the sweeper lens. And I've seen that change quite a number of times in games now. So it is a possibility that Lulu, once she's built up into a ruby sightstone, or feels that their team's got a bit more of a vision presence on the map, then she may swap that out later on in the game and will end up selling it. But I'd imagine I do tend to find that it's only the junglers and the supports who will kind of change out what trinket they're carrying around in the game.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm surprised at how few mid laners run the sort of sweeper lens. I mean, with the mid lane being such a jungle orientated lane, like there's not very many mid lanes where it's a sort of 1v1 lane. There's almost always jungle ganks coming in. I'm surprised that teams don't sort of plan for ganks and use the sweeper on the mid laner, be able to sweep out those side brushes and allow their jungler to sort of gank. If you can sweep out one of the side brushes, and then if you play at the other side of the lane from that, I can't actually currently move the camera to show where I'm talking about because it's paused, but I think you can see my mouse. If you remove the ward here on this brush, and then you play around here, you force the enemy mid laner to stand near that brush that you've already dewarded, and that allows your jungler then to get an easy gank. And if you can force the enemy mid laner into that position to keep up on CS, then they're forced to get into that vulnerable position, and you can allow yourself to get those big ganks.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of that sort of mindset, it really just comes down to the confidence of the mid laner, in that if they're not feeling particularly confident, or they don't think they're in a dominant kind of matchup with the champion that they're facing, they will decide to choose the ward trinket. So, they'll have vision, they'll know where the enemy jungler is, so they know when they're going to get ganked. Whereas if you are feeling more confident, you think, yeah, I can easily beat this mid laner, but I'd like to beat him even faster, you'd get that sweeper lens. And if you're confident in your escape mechanisms, if you've got kind of the ability to get away from any gank, I mean, you can argue Fizz has probably got a much better escape mechanism pre-level 6, but then when kind of Ahri hits level 6, really she should be able to escape from any gank so long as her mid tower is up. So yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that you kind of maybe Ahri should swap out her totem ward for that sweeper lens now, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what happens. I've not really seen many mid laners go for that sweeper lens though. That was just sort of something I've theory crafted, but I don't actually main mid lane, so I could just be completely wrong about that one. I do actually main AD carry, and also I'm kind of disappointed in the lack of scrying orb we've seen. And I know it's not like, I can understand completely why nobody uses scrying orb.
It's very, very situational of when you can use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, it's good. Like, the range on it isn't necessarily as good as it could be. I feel like since the whole reason that they introduced the sort of amount of time you have to wait before you can use your trinket at the start, I feel like that was a lot to do with the scrying orb, but then the range on it's not big enough to view the enemy starting items like you used to be able to do in Season 2 or whenever that was part of the meta. I feel like maybe they should increase the range on the scrying orb even at low levels so that it becomes more viable.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's just a case that the totem trinket and the sweeper lens, they're just more useful, more situations. Like they're kind of, if you kind of were to give a ranking out of out of 10 for all of the trinkets. You'd give kind of the warding lens maybe kind of a 7, and it will stay a 7 consistently throughout the game. And the same with the sweeper lens, maybe kind of a useful rating of 6 out of 10. Whereas a scrying orb is, for me personally, I think it's kind of maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10. But on those maybe 1 in 100 occasions where you use it correctly and you get lucky, then it's exceedingly useful, and it's a 10 out of 10. But those occasions don't happen enough kind of to warrant choosing it over.
Yeah, exactly. And also the fact that the scrying orb, the times that it would be useful is either you're playing Nidalee and you need to land a spear, in which case by using the scrying orb people know that you're going to try and land a spear and are going to juke, or you're going to use it to try and see a buff or Baron or Dragon. But if you had the warding trinket or the sweeping lens, you would just have better vision control anyway, so you could possibly have the vision of those objectives anyway.
Yeah, just to make you aware, we have had the disconnected play. He has reconnected. He had a problem with his router and his router reset. Router, however you want to play. So I think we are waiting to restart, I think. When
okay. So we're going to be resuming.
3, 2, 1, and you're back in the room.
So, bit of hypnotism there by Suddit, and we're going to be heading back into this game. So, taking a quick refresher on the scores, we did have a 10-minute break in this game. So, just a quick refresher. Currently, the Northern team is 2.5k ahead in gold. Looking at the farm, top lane slightly ahead, mid lane breaking even in farm, but Ari going to be having those 5 kills, and in the bot lane, Vayne going 6-1-1, doing so much. And Jinx just finally picking up her first big item compared to Vayne's Blade of the Rune King, Static Shiv, and Merc Treads.
Yeah, and to give the viewers an update on Nessus's queue, it's just gone over the 300 mark. So for 90 minutes into the game, that's pretty good going, I think. I can't knock him for that. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like an average in solo queue at around gold elo, you sort of see about 250 stacks at 20 minutes. So to have 319 minutes, that is very good going from the Nessus.
Yeah. I mean, luckily for the North team, it's only 40 more seconds before they can surrender, so...
Not that we'll be seeing a surrender coming out from the North team, as they are currently 3,000 gold ahead of the South team, and this Vayne is an absolute monster right now. Currently 2v1ing in this bot lane for farm, and the Southern bot lane actually too afraid to go in 2v1 against this Vayne.
I'm rather surprised that they are a bit afraid, because I feel like they could easily 2v1 her. And
we do have a fight going on in the top. Mundo actually having to flash out, and Fizz unfortunately failing the playful trickster there, not going to be able to go in on that one. But we do have a fight going down in the bot lane. Ari did just miss a charm. She used her first Spirit Dash, going to be using the second one on Vayne. The DFG does go down. I don't know if he's going to be able to finish it. The barrier goes down from Vayne, but he is going to go down to the Ari, and that's going to be a free kill for the Southern team. And the Northern team really not having much to answer for that.
No, I think the fact that Fizz roamed up top to try and get a gank on Mundo, and it was an unsuccessful gank. Okay, they burned the flash off Stormcrow, but now the South team, they thought, well, if you've gone up top, we're going to push down bottom. They got the kill on Vayne. They've now cleared the tower. Just slightly over 1,000 goals, so this game is still exceedingly close at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just like that fight showed, when the game is this close and all of your kills are on one person, you can't say who's going to win, because I mean the Vayne has 6 kills, so if she does well in a fight, I mean they're going to absolutely destroy that fight. However, if, like for example in that fight, the Vayne goes down first, there's nothing that the Northern team can do in that fight, and really it's going to be down to the Southern team. But it's the same the other way. If the Northern team can manage to catch out Ari, then there's really nothing the South can do to stop them.
Yeah, it looks like North team are going to be going for Dragon. It is up in 12 seconds, so they have a timer on it. They know exactly what they're doing. But yeah, I think with the Vayne with Nyon, I think it's just a case of him making sure it doesn't get too overconfident and thinking, I got 6 kills in the first 15 minutes, I'm going to easily win the game now. If he gets too overconfident and overplays and gets out of position, then that could cause some trouble if he gets caught out a couple more times. But to see the Dragon being absolutely blasted down there, Nasus used his teleport to come down there. I'm not sure whether that was
Yeah, I think very good team play by them, like showing that they're on the same page, definitely communicating. We've got another pause, but yeah, showing that they're on the same page, they're communicating and everything, but not necessarily needed. I mean, nobody came to to contest with the dragon, but the purples didn't necessarily have that much vision. I mean, they had vision of Try, they had vision over the wall, so they kind of knew that the south weren't coming. So I don't know if the teleport was really necessary, but I guess just sort of flexing their muscles, saying, "Hey, we don't need this teleport. We'll just use it anyway." Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a kind of showboating. Oh yeah, we've got brilliant team composition. Look, we can teleport down whenever we want. Because the South team, I don't think they actually had vision of that, so they might not have even seen the teleport being used. So I don't think that. Yeah, as we said, it's not really brilliant. In terms of the pause, it is Welsh Brands who's had another disconnect. It's with his uni internet. It's not Riot servers for a change, apparently. It's just, sure, all of us are used to, well, those of us who are in uni halls have problems with.
Yeah, I definitely remember being in uni halls and having entire weeks of just no internet because for whatever reason. So I can definitely relate to his issues. But we do have a reconnect, so we should see the game resuming any second now. And I'm very interested to see, with the gold as close as it is, we've only got like a 2,000 gold difference currently. I'm very interested to see if both teams want to go for these sort of 5v5 engages. I mean, currently, when you've only got one person that's fed, you need to sort of get the rest of your team fed as well. And the best way to do that is to go in those team fights. The person that's already fed can deal loads of damage, and then either your mid or top or whoever else you want to get fed can pick up those kills from the damage that your pre-fed person has dealt the damage to. That was completely ridiculously worded, but you get the idea.
I think an interesting note to make in terms of items, look at Mundo's build.
Well, we do have a fight going on in the top lane. Vayne is going ham onto Mundo. Does use the Blade of the Rune King. Mundo not going to be able to regen fast enough, and Vayne possibly going to be picking up this kill, and that's the 7th kill for Vayne.
Yeah, that's devastating. That certainly means that Mundo isn't going to be able to split.
Oh, at least going for the Flash Cocoon, but the Playful Trickster able to dodge that. Thresh picking up the kill on Elise, though, so a 1-for-1 there, but the support and the jungler picking up the kills, so not really ideal for either team.
Yeah, I was going to say just before Vayne, Vayne went in on Mundo there, is that if you look at Mundo's build, he went for Leandri's Torment. Okay, he's got the Ninja Tabby, and he's built a Giant Spell, but he didn't go for that Spirit Visage first, which would certainly boost the power of his ultimate. He hasn't gone for a Warmogs first. I mean, with that Giant Spell, I imagine he will be building into a Warmogs, or potentially a Randuin's Omen, because the Vayne would just chunk through the percentage of his health with her Silver Bolt procs. But yeah, I'm surprised that he went for that kind of more damagey sort of build first, when the rest of the team isn't that tanky.
Yeah, definitely, and I think especially with the team comp he has, I mean, they don't have a tanky support. They've got, obviously, the AP carry and the AD carry aren't going to be tanky, but the Elise is only sort of semi-building tanky. It does have the Spirit of the Ancient Golems, got that Warden's Mail, going to be going towards that Randuin's, but also got that sort of magic pen from the Haunting Guys, so Elise going sort of semi-damage as well. I really feel like Mundo needed to go full damage. I kind of disagree with his build there. I think just going for that pure tankiness would have been much more useful, as Nasus is going to be going for that role. Shyvana is also going for that pure tankiness. So currently the front line for the Northern team is looking much stronger.
Yeah, and also another point is that Fizz has just finished Sonya's Hourglass, so when he gets into a fight, he does have that little extra reprieve. And if he gets into trouble, he can wait an extra, second or two for a gank to come in, should it occur.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a tussle going on between Mundo and Nasus in that bot lane there, both just dealing chunks of damage to each other, but kind of staying at very similar amounts of health. But Nasus having so much sustain because of that Spirit Visage and the lifesteal he naturally has, he can just sort of regen himself back up. And Mundo being sort of out sustained here, he does use his ultimate, but I don't know if he's really going to be able to out-sustain Nasus's damage if they do go for a fight. I mean, I don't think we've even seen Nasus use his ultimate this game. I'm not sure if he used it for the dragon. I think he sort of arrived a bit too late to use it for the dragon, so really, I don't think we've seen him use it at all so far.
Yeah, it looks like North Team is going to try and push down this top lane tier 2 turret. Ahri misses the charm.
Yeah, the Death Sentence does go down onto Ahri. The box goes down. Wild Growth from Lulu, though. Dowsy getting really low. Was tanking the tower. He is going to go down to that tower. And Jinx getting exhausted, though. And now Ahri's getting really, really low. Vayne just so narrowly escaping there. Everyone's so low. But Fizz able to pick up a kill as well. And now we've got to re-engage. Elise getting so low. Everyone in this fight is so low. Vayne narrowly avoiding that, but Lulu able to pick up the kill onto Vayne. Jinx picking up the kill on Thresh. And now Fizz is in a really, really bad situation. Can he finish off the Lulu for the final kill? Does use his playful trickster, but it's not going to be enough, and Jinx is going to be able to pick up that final kill of the fight.
Yeah, that was a 4 for 1 there.
And it looks like the Baron going to be going down for the Southern team.
Oh wow, this is a ballsy move here. I mean, Mundo's got his regen.
Yeah, I think a very risky play, but I think they can do it. The Mundo has his ultimate available. I don't think Nasus is going to be able to steal it on his own. Shyvana's not going to get here in time. And that's going to be a free Baron for the Southern team, so really, really well played by them. I mean, it would have been much better if the Northern team did get that, but really well played by the Southern team to pick that one up. Very quick Baron.
Their courage there. They made the call, and they all they stuck with it. And they didn't kind of back away when they knew that Nasus was hanging around, because he could have quite easily, he couldn't have flashed in, but he might have kind of teleported into his own ward and gone for the Q steal, possibly.
Yeah, it would have been. It was definitely a difficult play for him to make, though. Very well. Whoever shot called that Baron was a very, very good call. I wouldn't have expected to see that, but definitely a good one to go for.
Yeah, and that's really evening up the gold lead as well. There's only 200 gold in it, so it's still an exceptionally close game.
Yeah, and also, the Southern team now has Baron, so this next team fight is going to be very, very interesting to watch. I mean, if the Southern team can win this team fight with their Baron, then they're gonna pull into the lead. That's a fact, and they're probably gonna get a couple of towers from it as well. However, if the Northern team wins the next team fight, even though the Southern team has Baron, then that is definitely a terrifying situation for the Southern team to be in.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are trying to wrestle each other over this dragon now that it's up.
Yeah, it looks like the Southern team are going to be picking up this dragon. I don't think there's much the Northern team can do about this. However, Nasus is in this top lane pushing, so at least one of the Southern team is going to have to go back here to defend this top tower. I mean, I think Nasus is going to be able to take this top tower. Fizz trying to push in the mid lane at the same time. Nasus already taken one tower, and he's unrelenting. He's still pushing. No, they are going to back off now. Southern team is on the way. But Mundo has now finished his Sunfire Cape, though, so he is going to start to get that little bit more tanky. He's going to get that little bit more AoE damage, but he's caught out again, and Vayne uses the ultimate. But the regen from Mundo so much. I think he might even be able to get away from this one. The movement speed he has as well, being so useful. And he's able to just walk away.
There to kind of deter the rest of the chase. But yeah, that Nasus, he's nearly on to 550 for his Q now. So he's going to be he can chunk down towers within seconds if he wants to at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and Mundo's regen as well. I mean, he was able to survive Vayne's damage there. I mean, Vayne didn't have a red buff, so he was able to sort of get away without being slowed there. But once he builds the Spirit Visage as well, he's going to be so difficult to deal with. Like I said before the game, when you get the 4 items on Mundo, if you get the Sunfire Gate, Warmog, Spirit Visage, and Randuin's, then you get 5,000 health. But Thresh is going to get absolutely burst. Did get the Death Sentence onto Elise, but really not the best target.
Yeah, South team has really got to make kind of the most of this Baron now that they're 5v4.
Yeah.
Ahri's hovering on the side now, could be looking for an engage when this minion wave comes up to the tower.
Yeah, they definitely want to try and force this tower. I mean, Vayne gets caught in the cocoon, does cleanse that. South looking really aggressive right now. They want to go in. Ahri trying to land the charm onto Nasus, not quite going to manage to land that though. And it looks like they are just going to go for this. At least going to be tanking the tower, and that is a tower for the South team. And they're just going to keep on pushing.
Yeah, Nasus is low. Shyvana was low. They couldn't have defended that. They would have lost even more. But Are they going to go for...
Yeah, Mundo currently tanking the tower. He has his ultimate available, so they're really not worried. But he does get caught by the death sentence. Vayne doing absolutely loads of damage there. But he is going to walk away. They really need to not focus Mundo because he's so tanky that at least he's going to go down. But Jinx picking up a double kill so far. Fizz picking up the kill onto Mundo. And it is absolute chaos in this team fight. Fizz getting really, really low. Does use the playful trickster. Lulu also dropping so low. And Fizz able to pick up a triple kill here. And Vayne picking up a final kill. That is a 4-for-1 for the Northern team, and North is going to counter push this. They're saying, we didn't appreciate you taking our mid tower, and now we're going to take yours.
Yeah, they're easily going to get kind of this tower, the base tower.
I think they're probably going to get at least an inhib here. They've got 10 seconds until Mundo's up. Ari currently the only one here to defend. I'm pretty sure they can dive this. If Nasus can get the wither down, then they're going to back off.
I'm surprised by that. They had, I mean, Mundo had respawned, but they had at least 5 or 6 seconds before the other 3 players would have respawned, and then they should have easily been able to get down that inhibitor and backed away.
Yeah, I feel like they could have taken that inhibitor there. With the Nasus and a Vayne, I mean, you have so much pushing potential. I don't know, it would have been close though, so probably a good call by them, just to play it safe, back away. They don't want to risk anything. I mean, a second ago, the South were ahead. So, to put it into perspective, if they'd risked that and lost it, then they would have just thrown what lead they just gained back. So, well, I say lead, I mean, it's 200 gold different right now. So,
on a knife edge at the moment.
Exactly, yeah. So, if they had gone for that risk, it would have been very, very dangerous. So, I guess probably a good call of them to back away.
I don't know, fortune favours the brave, and if the North get a bit too cowardly and try to play it safe, then the South could just, if they get that single catch in a team fight, if they manage to catch the Vayne, that could spell game over. If they get a good kind of team fight, take out 4 of the North team, they'll be able to get that inhibitor. They'll easily be able to probably push down another tower and Baron, which is going to be up in about a minute 10. Dragon's also going to be up in a minute 40 as well, so all of the objectives are coming up within the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. I think there's going to be some pretty critical team fights coming up now. I mean, whoever wins the next team fight, so long as they've got 2 members up at least, they're going to take an inhibitor. Both middle inhibitors are available. However, tower-wise, the North team is doing 2 towers better, so they can push not only the bottom, but Nasus could split push the top. If they can get an ace on the South team, they can take the middle inhibitor and the top inhibitor as well. And Baron is coming up in 35 seconds, so that's going to be a massive objective as well. And currently, the North has vision control of the Baron.
Yeah, important to note that Nasus had to go clear down that bottom wave, which is being pushed for them, the North team. And the North team also has their top lane, which is going to be pushed by a blue minion wave.
Oh, Fizz nearly getting caught out there. Does manage to playful trickster away, though. Definitely going to be seeing a team fight coming up soon.
Yeah, North are going back into their own base where they're feeling a bit safer.
Yeah, I really feel like Nasus needs to sort of rejoin his team here because, in fact, the Southern team are going to be going for this Baron, and the North really need to contest this. They cannot afford to give the South a free Baron. Vayne needs to stop farming and head over to that Baron pit, but the South are going to be trying to bait this.
Nasus does have that teleport, so as long as there's a ward...
Yeah, the North does have that pink ward available, so they know that they haven't gone to the Baron. They know that it's bait, and Thresh is going to get the death sentence. I mean, at least getting absolutely burst, does manage to jump away. The Stormcrow now getting really, really low, does jump over into the Baron pit, but he's going to get attacked by the Baron. Fizz going to be chasing that, does pick up the kill onto Mundo. That's the first kill of the team fight. And Ari and Jinx in a really bad situation here. Dowsy leading the charge as that Shivani's got his... Oh, he had his movement speed up again, but he's decided to back away, and it looks like the Northern team are going to be going for this Baron.
Yeah, I don't think the South team will be able to contest this. I mean, Lulu is hanging around, but this Baron is chunked down so fast.
Yeah, and once they do have that Baron buff, the health regen from that will be able to restore Fizz's health back to full, and without going back, they're going to be regenning their health, and they'll be able to push while they sustain up again. But yeah, I mean, in fact, they are going to be backing off.
Yeah, it's a 2 lead that the North has now gotten.
Yeah, so the Northern team really not playing too aggressive. I mean, they're playing pretty southern right now. They're playing a bit passive, really. I mean, they just took Baron, they took a kill on Mundo. I really feel like they should have tried to force that inhibitor, but clearly not wanting to risk that Baron buff. They want to recall, want to group up, get back to full health, and then go for those pushes. Shyvana, she knows that there's no ward at that dragon, so her and Vayne just going to be picking up that free dragon, extending the Northern Gold lead slightly more. Now 3,000 gold ahead, and they should hopefully now go for this mid push and take this free inhibitor that they have.
Yeah, I mean, when Mundo went to go back and buy, he did buy a Thorn Mails, so that's really going to help against Vayne, who oftentimes we've seen in the last few teams like Vayne has chunked down pretty much anyone's health. As soon as Jorfas kind of locks onto someone, that person's health goes down instantly.
Yeah, and the thing is though, I really feel like Stormcrow needs to build that Spirit Visage. I mean, Thornmail, in my opinion, is really not that good of an item. I mean, against a Vayne anyway, Vayne's going to be dealing a crap ton of true damage to you. So armor, while it is obviously armor's really good against Vayne, it's not as effective as it could be. And the Spirit Visage will not only give him 20% more health regen, which is so crucial on Mundo, it'll also give him the magic resist to deal with the Fizz, who is on 4 items so far. He's got his boots, he's got his Lich Bane, he's got a Zhonya's and a Death Cap. That's 2 items with a needlessly large rod on. I mean, he does so much damage on his own. He needs some magic resist right now.
Yeah, I mean, we see the inhibitor being, wiped out within a couple of seconds there. Nasus has got his Q up to 600 now. He's on about 603. So yeah, he's pumping out a lot of damage. But yeah, I agree with you that Mundo really does need to build that Spirit Visage now. I mean, I can kind of understand if you're thinking about the magic resist that it adds at kind of the North team. Apart from Fizz, there's not that much magic damage coming out. If you exclude Thresh, Shyvana, she's predominantly AD. Vayne, obviously AD. Nasus, mainly AD. So I can maybe slightly understand that sort of mindset.
Oh, we do get the grab down from Thresh. He's going to be able to get the flay. The box goes down as well. And Fizz getting absolutely dropped right at the start, but the Zhonya isn't able to playful trickster out. Stormcrow does go down right at the start of this fight, and Nasus getting really low. He is tanking the tower. Ahri going to go down though. Nasus is going to be a casualty for the Northern team, but they're going to be able to take this top tower, and they're going to be able to take a second inhibitor from this. Oh, the Death Rocket actually taking out Fizz. Really well played by the Jinx there.
+2 cool points to Jinx there. That was a really good.
Oh, Vayne in a. Oh, I thought Vayne was going to get chased up on by the Elise there, but Elise not quite brave enough to chase that one up, and that is going to be an inhib and a 2 for 2. So really a good trade for the Northern team. They get the tower, and it's an even trade kills wise. So you really can't complain about that.
No, North definitely coming out with the advantage now. When you've got 2 inhibitors down, South are going to have to really stay in their base and just kind of protect for the next couple of minutes until at least one of those inhibitors respawns.
Yeah, and obviously in this pre-season 4, inhibitors do respawn much quicker now, so we should see that middle inhibitor respawn fairly soon. That has been down for a little while. But North team going to be regrouping, going to be grabbing those buffs. The Baron not going to be up for a while, Dragon not up for a while, so they're just going to be going probably for a split push bot maybe, or possibly just try and brute force their way to the Nexus.
Yeah, I mean in that team fight there, Vayne just was at pretty much full health for the entire fight. No one could get onto him. Mundo tried to go in, but because Mundo can't really dive as such, he can just run at you as fast as he can, but he can't leap towards you. He just couldn't get there, couldn't pressure Vayne off, and Vayne's not really scared of anyone at the moment. She can certainly 1v1, I think, anyone on the South team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Vayne, one of those champions that when either in the early game if you get fed, or when you finally get to the late game, you're just so difficult to deal with. And he's not even had to roll cleanse because he's gone for that Quicksilver Sash. So he can 1v1 Elise because the Cocoon's going to do nothing. He can 1v1 Ahri because the Charm's going to do nothing. Basically, he can 1v1 anyone. So if he can, he doesn't even really need peeling because the blue team doesn't have enough dive to all go onto Vayne simultaneously. But we do. Looks like we are going to have a fight. Ahri does get caught by the death sentence. The Zhonya's does go down. Stormcrow getting absolutely melted by this Vayne, and it looks like a turret has gone down But Naz is going to be picking up a kill. Vayne picking up a kill.
They're basically
Jinx going to be getting... And there's Fizz so low. It does go down to the Glitter Lance there. And Lulu going to be escaping, maybe? He's so... Oh my goodness, he's going to get away. He manages to get onto the fountain. But that is going to be a good game. The minions just finishing that off while the team fight goes on. And that is going to be a victory for the Northern team. So the North now with 1 point in their pockets. The South on a sour 0 points.
It was that Vayne. If it wasn't for that Vayne, South had a much greater chance. But I mean, it was even throughout all of that match. I mean, you look at the kills, kind of. 2021, if you exclude that last team fight, the South are in the lead. And the gold lead is, maybe 2,000 gold either side throughout the entire match. I mean, we got up to the 40-minute mark there at the end, so, I mean, well played by both teams, but, yeah, a special congratulations to Nyon there. Just doing so much damage by the end.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
I really feel that the Nyon on Vayne, my personal MVP for that game. I mean,
agreed.
The kills just says it all. I mean, while Vayne is a really good champion for getting really fed, he did play incredibly well. And in that early game, getting to that 4-0-0 so early and picking up that early Blade of the Rune King just sort of set the pace for the game. And while it was a really close game up to sort of... I was going to say up to sort of 30 minutes, but even then, the biggest sort of gold difference before it started to snowball towards the North was like 3,000 gold. So it was a very, very close game, almost the whole way through. But the Vayne managing to stay so far ahead, and Ari not quite able to keep that sort of snowball going. I mean, at one point, I believe Ari was going 6 for 1, I think it was. It might have been 6 for 2. Yeah. Now, at the end of the game, only 7 for 4, so not able to maintain that snowball as well. I mean, Jinx did catch up quite a bit at the end, did get to that 7-4-3, but neither of them anywhere near the level of that Vayne.
No, I think at the end of the day, it came down to the North team's bot lane winning out. I think they just tended to win out on skill. I think South team was slightly outplayed because I don't think it really came down to the ganks. I don't think the ganks are too influential on that bot lane. And then the top lane as well, Nasus just, as we said with Nasus, if he's not banned and you manage to get in top lane, he'll build up that queue, he'll farm and farm and farm. And when he gets to that 600 kind of, usually when it's around over 500 on his queue, that's when he can just chunk down towers. He's tanky enough naturally as it is. He doesn't need to build too many kind of tanky items. But I mean, this Nasus did anyway. He got the Spirit of Visage, he had the Randuin Zoman, he had the Iceborne Gauntlets. And with the Mundo as well, I mean, we could see at the end there, he built a Negatron cloak. So it looked like kind of his fifth item rather, was going to be that Spirit Visage, but it's just a bit too late really for it. He tried to go for the damage first with the Leandri's Torment, then with the Sunfire Cape, which is, defensive but has a slight kind of offensive edge to it. And then after that, he started trying to build the defensive items, the Thorn Mails, and then probably the Spirit Visage, but just too little too late against that Vayne.
Yeah, definitely. And we do now have a couple of